Hey, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
My favorite topic. We'll talk about Bitcoin taxes during probate. Well, not that taxes is my favorite. I like talking
No,
about
I
Bitcoin.
was going to say, but a few of those are your favorite. Probate, Bitcoin. It's like,
Yeah. All right. So after somebody dies owning Bitcoin, so amongst all the other chaos and questions about what happens when somebody dies and compounded by he owned Bitcoin, there's also questions about taxes, which can be kind of a stressful topic for folks. So
stressful
some of the
anytime.
So some of the questions folks have are, how do you pay capital gains that may be rolled up during the decedent's life on trading his Bitcoin? Or if he was a long-term holder, he didn't trade in and out, but he had a significant gain from what he was holding long-term, how much capital gains tax will the family or the heirs owe? And lastly, what about estate tax? How does that affect Bitcoin? So we'll try to answer those questions for you today. All right. So what about final year capital gains tax from trading? So what if the person was buying and selling and flipping and holding and, just in and out of Bitcoin, trying to catch all the waves of this very volatile asset? Okay, so first of all, it has to be somebody who is buying, selling, and trading. If the decedent was a true holder, and did not buy and sell, then there's probably no capital gains. There's no realized gains because you have to sell something to owe capital gains tax. Do we all understand that?
Yeah. Yep.
But it's okay. So, but if he was trading in and out, how does the executor sort through all that and find the basis and find the sales prices? This is a slightly complicated situation right now, at least, because it's not really a well-established setup in the industry. So number one, take a look if he or she had any software apps for tracking basis. There's a couple. There's really no main one right now. So just do yourself a favor and Google Bitcoin or cryptocurrency tax tracking and see what are some of the more popular softwares at the time or apps at the time, and then just kind of browse through the person's phone or email or desktop to see if he had any of those. And maybe they had something set up to track basis.
That would be lovely. Yes.
Yeah, but my understanding is that even if they did, they don't really work that well. So,
okay.
Yeah. Next, check the exchange. If he or she was buying on an exchange, a centralized exchange, Binance, Kraken, BlockFi, Coinbase, what have you, Gemini. Some of them do basis tracking. But even if they do, it's not that good. So even with stocks, with its E-Trade or Fidelity or what have you, not all of them track basis, right? So we've seen that with our estates on just traditional 100-year, equities, which have been around forever. So it's a little unrealistic or unreasonable to expect these Bitcoin exchanges to do as good or a better job of tracking basis of this new asset. So that's worth checking, but don't get your hopes up.
No, but do you think it might get there? Yeah, like we've been talking about Bitcoin for a while, cryptocurrencies.
What I'm saying is if somebody's alive and tracking their own basis, it's actually, fine. It's not a problem.
Okay.
But just like everything becomes a bit more of a mess when you're doing it for somebody else who passed away, just like if it was stocks, just transfer that messiness to Bitcoin and then compound it by the fact that it's a new type of asset.
Right.
It'll get there eventually. But look, even now, stocks, we don't get basis for all our stocks.
No.
Sometimes we have to look it up, and just like reconstruct the portfolio, which whatever we do what we have to do. We'll do that for Bitcoin too if we have to.
Yep.
Call us.
Yeah.
All right. So lastly, okay, what do you do then in the worst case scenario? What do you do? Like if you can't figure out the basis for the life of you, so then you got to take a position. And what I mean by that is, as executor, we would say, here, IRS, this is what we think it is. This is our best guess, and here's our rationale for it. Tell us, do we owe more? Like you can't just wait forever,
right?
Digging constantly, trying to find this basis. Eventually, you either suck it up and say, look, we're going to assume zero basis and we're going to owe the full capital gains tax, or you take a position like, look, we know it was bought, I don't know, within this date range. Here's the average price during those dates. This is our position. Like, do you accept? And there's a form for that. It's called 5495, where you ask the IRS to either accept or audit you. Essentially, I hate to even invite that, but
yeah. But at that point, when you do that, you've exhausted everything else. This isn't like that's not your first line of defense. We're going to go through everything
of course.
first. Yeah. Yep.
And there is value in finality, and that is the point of this. You're trying to get some finality from the IRS. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time you turn this into the IRS, we've done lots of legwork to come up with this best guess that we've turned over to them. So
and it has to be a good guess. Otherwise, you're inviting an extended argument with the IRS. If you put together a pretty strong argument, they might just say, "Hey, all right, fine. That's good." All right. Next tax issue for Bitcoin during probate. Long-term, does long-term Bitcoin get stepped up basis? And the answer is yes. Like all other capital appreciated assets, we're talking about homes or stocks, Bitcoin will get stepped up basis, or at least as far as I can tell. I mean, it's all very new, but I don't see why not. So let's quickly review what is basis and what is stepped up basis. Basis is basically your adjusted purchase price. So if you bought a house, I don't know, 20 years ago, your purchase price is your basis, but you adjust it for things like you put some money into renovate or significant renovations or things like that. But basically, it's your purchase price. Right. Same with your stock. If you bought, what's your favorite stock these days, Janice?
Great question. I have no idea.
All right. We'll say Tesla. We'll say Tesla.
I don't dabble too much in that.
Yeah, area, of course. Well, I think you mentioned once you guys like Teslas. I don't know. So let's say,
there you go. Yes.
So let's say you bought Tesla years ago when I don't even know what the stock price is, when it was at 50 and now it's 500. Who knows? So you got a tenfold increase. Yeah, that's a big gain. You're going to own a lot of capital gains tax on that. So what does that mean? So your capital gains is calculated by the difference between what it's worth now when you sell versus what it was when you bought it. So if you bought something for $1 and you sold it for $101, your gain is
$100.
$100, and then you owe a percentage on that, right?
Right.
Yeah, very good. Hey.
Thank you.
So what happens is when somebody passes away, you get this one very rare freebie from the IRS called a stepped up basis. Am I saying that clearly? Stepped up, like stepping up the stairs.
Like a stepping stone, step up.
Yep. So if you bought Bitcoin at $1 and it's currently trading at $100,001, your gain is $100,000. You'd owe a lot of tax on that.
Yeah.
Right? If you sold it like the day before you died. But if you pass away and your heirs get it, their basis becomes the $101,000. So if they sell it the next day for $102,000, their gain is $1, $1. Right? Was that clear?
It is. First of all, it's a really good return originally from $1 to $100,001.
That's legit. That's a real example. Okay.
That's so great.
But so this is important because number one, Bitcoin heirs, let's call them, should not be so stressed out about long-term held Bitcoin taxes or taxes on long-term held Bitcoin, and then holders who are thinking about their estate planning. This is a way that if you've held on for a long time and you have huge gains, passing it on to your heirs you'll save a ton on taxes. Yeah, on capital gains taxes.
Absolutely.
All right. So the last issue of Bitcoin taxes during probate, people often wonder about the estate tax. Is there a estate tax on your Bitcoin? Yeah, probably yes. Why not? It's an asset just like real estate or stocks. Yeah. So just real briefly, what is estate tax? Estate tax is a tax on your net worth upon your passing. It's about your balance sheet upon your death, not what income you earned. It's different from your 1040.
Right.
Your executor or heirs need to sort of put together like a balance sheet or just a list of all your assets minus liabilities, and just present that to the IRS and calculate the tax owed. If you think that sounds like a pain, don't worry. It probably doesn't apply to you.
Right.
Like 99% of people, this is a non-issue. Why? Because it doesn't apply to estates beneath $12 million.
Yes.
So that's $12 million.
Yes. Okay.
And then
I'm good. Mm-hmm. I'll be fine.
Well, let me just make sure, because for married couples, it doesn't apply under $24 million. So I don't know how much your husband's worth, but hopefully.
Okay, kind of close, but not even.
But I mean, let's be jokes aside, there are probably some holders, long-term Bitcoin holders, who are at least brushing up against those numbers, or at least if they believe that it will keep going up, which many people do, that this could be an issue. So when we say that earlier, we said you get all this free stepped up basis and avoid capital gains tax. That's true. But if your gains have gone up so much that you've shot past the estate tax thresholds, you're sort of trading capital gains tax for estate tax. Does that make sense?
It does. And, when you're talking, if you're over that threshold, it's kind of a catch-22, right? You're doing really, really well, but you do have to pay the estate tax, but it is what it is.
Look, if you're at that point, you need to hire somebody like me or an accountant to deal with it, because it can be dealt with. That's not even
definitely.
It's not even an issue. But if you're at that tier, talk to somebody, a professional.
Yeah. That's not a DIY situation.
No,
ever when you're talking about that much. So no, these are great. And you said this is a question from one of our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Thanks. Please keep those coming. If you want to know more about probate in general, so I do suggest Anthony's book, How Probate Works. Not a Bitcoin chapter yet. I think we keep talking to Anthony about this. Hopefully that'll be coming. But it's an ever-changing topic, right? Every time we talk about it, something changes between our podcasts. So,
but at least if you take a look at the book or listen to our episodes, you can get a sense of, hopefully you can get a sense of how all these processes and probate steps apply to your Bitcoin situation.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Let us know if you have any more questions. This is a fun topic for us.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Janice, as always. We will talk soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.